What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the Texas Rangers Report, brought to you by Center Fuel Media. And whichever way you are listening to this episode, whether it's on YouTube or via a podcast, thank you all for joining. And today, this might be a hot topic, definitely controversial, and it is: should the Texas Rangers fire Jon Daniels, the longtime general manager, the guy that has brought us to back-to-back World Series, the guy that constructed the Elvis Andrus deal? Although, as I'm sure a lot of you fans are aware, the Jon Daniels era, yes, he did bring us to back-to-back World Series. It just hasn't seemed like it's progressed since then. And I'm going to give 3 reasons why I wouldn't be shocked if the Texas Rangers were to fire him. But then I'll also give my the other reasons why I think it makes sense if he just stayed, okay? So I'm just going to jump right into it, not wasting any time. So, first off, Jon Daniels' decisions, okay? I think we should have been a rebuilding team a while ago, probably back in 2017. I think that Darvish trade was a good start. Obviously, we weren't going to make the playoffs, but he always liked to call it a retool. He never wanted to fully commit to rebuilding. He just kept on calling it a retool or refresh, reset. And because of those actions by the front office, we are still one of the worst teams in baseball. We had the 2nd overall pick last year. This year we're going to have the 3rd overall pick. And it prolonged the period of suffering for the Rangers fan base. And because we're trying to stay in that mediocrity stage, we didn't trade guys at their peaks. For instance, going back to Mike Minor, who knows if we could have gotten one top 100 prospect or 2 top 100 prospects, because back whenever we were trading Mike Minor, teams were more willing to give up top prospects, and he still had another year left on his deal. And we actually held on to him. We traded him, and now it's funny, we do have Dustin Harris, who is playing pretty well. He actually cracked his way into top 30. So we'll see how that goes. But if we were able to get like an Ian Anderson from the Braves, sign me up for that, okay? And then even some guys like, you can change, like, it's kind of tough. Like, we could have traded Hunter Pence, but who knows if we really would have gotten a good deal. And then you think back to Lance Lynn. We could have traded him at the trade deadline, and since we didn't trade him, who do we think that we lost that much trade value? Maybe. Dane Dunning was still a good return, but at the time it was like, why are we doing this? And then going back to the Corey Kluber trade, like, you gotta keep in mind, like, Jon Daniels is trying to do what's best for the team, but also he has the owners to worry about. So the owners want to be a winning team whenever we first stepped foot into the ballpark. So that's why he kept Mike Minor. That's why he went after Corey Kluber. But can you imagine if we still had Emmanuel Clase in the back of the bullpen? That would be insane. Because the Shields, so we trade the Shields and Clase. Kluber not with us, the Shields not with them. But I think the Mike Minor one's the biggest, but I think one of the other biggest things is just staying in the mediocrity stage. going after guys like Todd Frazier, not trading guys at their peaks. So that's one thing. The third thing, or the second thing, has got to be the return on investment in trades. Okay, so just to name off a few, the Jerickson Profar deal. Okay, we trade Jerickson Profar, and we got Brock Burke, he hasn't been playing really any in the majors. Or going back to the Yu Darvish deal, could we have gotten a guy like Walker Buehler if he went 1-for-1, or a Alex Verdugo if he went 1-for-1? Would you guys take that, or are you happy with AJ Alexy and Willie Calhoun? Willie Calhoun has really under impressed in my opinion, but what would you guys do? And even going back to the Cole Hamels deal, this could be maybe waiting a little too long, but still, you would like to see a better return for Cole Hamels, and those guys really haven't really done much for the organization. And then I think the third thing is now we have Chris Young. So what's the point of having Jon Daniels in the organization if we're gonna have Chris Young? And I think the moves that Chris Young has made have been pretty good ones, going after Nate Lowe and still getting Dane Dunning for Lance Lynn, getting a top 100 prospect, even if after you didn't trade him at the trade deadline. So what's the need for Jon Daniels if we have Chris Young? Now, on the flip side of things, I think the Rangers should still keep Jon Daniels. I know a lot of Rangers fans don't like Jon Daniels for all of the trades he's done over the years, all the things he hasn't done, etc., etc. But I'm going to list off 3 reasons why the Rangers should keep him. So if you believe that the Rangers should fire Jon Daniels just because we have Chris Young as the general manager, I think that's silly, because the Rangers can now get more things done efficiently, because beforehand Jon Daniels had to be the president of operations and the general manager at the exact same time. But now he gets to delegate the GM job to Chris Young, and now he just gets to do the president of operations. But I mean, it's not like Chris Young is like wheeling and dealing all the trades. Jon Daniels still has a say, but the Rangers are now able to get more done in the organization. Second thing is that Jon Daniels is kind of a veteran now. He came into the MLB GM, whatever. He was an MLB GM at 28 years old, but now he's 44 years old, okay? So he's been around the ropes, and he does know what it takes to get a competing team. And I think people need to realize not every trade is going to pan out, but he knows the ropes, and most importantly, he knows the organization really well. He knows the players. So I don't really see a point in Jon Daniels, especially if you were to say you fire him and then you have a second-year general manager. Who's going to fill that void? Are you going to promote Chris Young to the president of operations? Are you going to bring in Jeff Luenhow? Do you really want that for your culture, having a guy that has the cheating scandal behind him? I don't really know if the Rangers want to do that. I mean, obviously, he did create a winning culture down in Houston, but is it the right message that you want to send to your players? Okay, and last but not least, I do believe that the trades that Jon Daniels has made throughout the course of the past 4 to 3 years are actually starting to pan out. I know a lot of people have been mad about a lot of trades because they just haven't seemed to gone in favor of the Texas Rangers. But I think tides are starting to turn. We're getting smarter with our draft philosophy. Well, I don't know if it's smarter, but it's a little bit more safe. And it seems like we're building a good farm system again. And we're starting to compete. So most notably for the trades, I think are starting to pan out. I think if you look back to the Keon Ikela trade, back in 2017, 2018, Texas Rangers received Taylor Hearn and Sherden Apostle, okay? And Taylor Hearn was the headliner at the time, and Sherden Apostle was a player to be named later. But Taylor Hearn took his time to develop, and now this year he was one of the better starting pitchers for the Texas Rangers, and it was impressive to see. And Sherden Apostle, he has broken out before in the minors. This year it was really a bad year for him because of injuries and whatnot. But we still have a solid prospect in him. He's one of the top prospects in the organization. So I think that trade's starting to pan out. And then you look back to the Yu Darvish trade. I think that trade is starting to pan out because obviously Willie Calhoun's been at the majors for a while. I thought he was going to be a really good impact player for the Rangers, but I don't know. Every year that goes by, it's less likely in my opinion. But AJ Alexy, ever since we traded for him, he's been a top prospect, and he's just impressed and impressed and impressed. He still lacks control, but it's nice to see that this is panning out, okay? We do want to develop him as a starter, but worst case scenario, he goes to the bullpen. Obviously, you don't want to see a guy that you trade for Yu Darvish go to the bullpen. Yu Darvish is an ace, but it's at least nice to see that these guys are in the majors. And going to another trade, the Joey Gallo trade, the Rangers finally realized the situation that they were in, okay? They realized this is going to be the best chance to trade Joey Gallo, especially since him and the Rangers weren't close on a contract extension. So they traded him to the New York Yankees, and Glenn Otto already reached the major leagues. He's impressed. He had ups and downs, but he looked impressive. He obviously has potential. And then you look at Josh Smith. He's already in Double-A, and then Ezekiel Duran is he played well in Single-A advance, and Trevor Hauver played decently in Single-A advance. So I think that trade's interesting because there's already a guy in the majors who's pitched a few nice games in the majors, and then the Rangers they finally capitalized on the guy's value. I didn't want the Rangers to trade Joey Gallo, but I think that the more I looked into it, especially now that he's playing, well, he's not playing anymore, but as he played worse and worse for the Yankees, it made sense. So that just about wraps up this video. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to give it a like, and if you're on the podcast, thank you for staying all the way to the end. But with that being said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, because I'm your number one source for all things Rangers. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.